Welcome back, everyone. We're just gathering the rest of our speakers up on stage. So Ulyana, if you've got a stage request there, do accept that stage request and you'll be joined to the stage. Thanks, Christine and Seth. And also Anne, please accept the stage request. Perhaps refresh your screen if you're not able to join the stage initially. I can see they're both doing that, so just bear with. Thanks, everyone. Here's Anne. Welcome, Anne. Thank you. And Ulyana will be on her way as well any minute now. So thanks, everyone. She's coming back just now. Thank you for your patience. Actually, I'll bring Alessandra up on the stage. It might appear that Ulyana is having some technical issues. So Alessandra, do join us on stage. Perhaps you can just step in here.
Hello, everyone.
Thank you.
I'm sure that Ulyana will be back soon. If not, we are going to run this in a moment, and I am going to improvise a little bit, and maybe I can moderate, but I'm sure that Ulyana will be back if she's got an issue. Maybe we can start by simply asking you to introduce yourself while we're waiting for Ulyana to come back. And would you like to start? If you can unmute.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Indeed.
Great. Hi, everybody. My name is Anne Kolodziej. I am a manager in our business development and partnerships team at. I was going to let Ulyana say how long I've been in the industry. There you are, Uli. I've been in the airline industry for a little bit over 30 years. I've spent most of my time at ATPCO. I've worn a lot of hats at ATPCO. It's a company that I love, and I have a real passion for some challenges with the airline industry. But what we're going to talk about today is also something that I feel very passionate about, and that is inclusion and getting more women involved in the technology sectors. And so I'm hoping that what you guys hear from us today will be something that you can take with you and build on, and get some of your own mentoring type of opportunities going. So anyway, that's me.
Hello, welcome, and apologies for this technical issue. We are all here today and excited to get this panel started. My name is Ulyana Uebersezig, and I'm so delighted to moderate our session today on the topic, how are we driving results through diversity and inclusion in our organization. So our goal for today to really tell our own story and our experience on how we were able to really drive results in our corporate organization through programs and by inviting others to the table. But before we dive into this highly anticipated topic, it's my pleasure to introduce all of the speakers, and thank you, Anne, for starting. So Anne has been in the industry for over 30 years, as she mentioned, and she's also known for her unique way to inspire others and really to bring others to the table and to help others across organization to advance themselves. Welcome, Anne. And then with us today, we have Christine Hudson. Christine drives commercial operations at ATPCO, and she is also managing many different initiatives on the topic of inclusion and diversity. She's also an animal rescuer and has a lot of wonderful hobbies. Welcome, Christine. And with us today, Seth Anagnostis. Seth is driving transformational initiatives at ATPCO, and he is determined to make flight shopping a more modern experience. Seth is also our advocate for women in technology initiatives that we run at ATPCO. And he is known for his very unique way to mentor others through empowerment and building positive culture at our organization. Welcome, Seth. Okay, and in case you are wondering, who is ATPCO and where in the world is ATPCO? So we are a global company with multiple offices across the globe to include in United States, United Kingdom, Bulgaria, and Singapore. And we are a technology and data company owned by airlines. And just simply put, if you ever bought a ticket for airline flight, so the ticket most likely was priced and went through ATPCO system. And while we are such a global organization and really a diverse organization, we really believe that that work of bringing diverse perspective to that room where decisions are made is never really done. It's an ongoing progress. And at our organization, we established this program about 2 years ago called Lead from the Front. And Beth Taylor, at that time, she was a head of marketing, and she was the founder of that program. You just had the pleasure to meet her on a previous panel. So while she moved on in her career, she left us with so much knowledge and so much inspiration to continue that momentum. So what started the program is really the need to raise the bar and to bring more diversity at the leadership level. So this program, Lead from the Front, aims to promote what women have to bring to the table. And through structured program and mentoring component, we really engaged the entire company. And through this experience, more than 30 women were able to go to Women in Technology program, Protege program, and they were connected with senior leaders in technology companies. More than 70 participated in our mentoring program, and we engaged over 120 employees who are currently active participants. And our panelists, Anne, Christine, and Seth, have a great story to tell how this program really impacted stories of our people. And we will start with you, Anne. So please, Anne, would you like to share a story, your contribution to the program, what you learned from there, and share those people's stories and successes? Thank you, Anne.
Absolutely. Yep. Thanks, Uli. So like Uli was saying, the Lead from the Front program was really meant to create leadership opportunities for women in technology and at ATPCO. And so what I want to do is highlight a couple of the opportunities, one of which that I actually participated in specifically, and just share the outcomes and the learnings from those experiences with our audience today. So the first story I have is about a travel scrum hackathon that ATPCO participated in last June. And this hackathon had participation from over 80 teams around the world that came together to create solutions for the travel and hospitality industry, which we all know has been greatly impacted by the COVID pandemic. As ATPCO, we jumped at the chance to participate and find a way to help the industry that we all love. So since the Lead from the Front structure was already in place, we were able to use it as the perfect opportunity to bring together a team of all women to compete in this particular hackathon. So the team members were made up of software engineers, architects, business analysts. We had a colleague that supported us in user experience and digital design, and there were several subject matter experts that acted as mentors to the hack team. So we formed the team very quickly. Within 2 weeks, we had defined our MVP, And we built a working prototype over the course of a 2-day weekend. Just very quickly, the solution was to collect and aggregate all the data about COVID restrictions, government shutdowns, border closings, destination information, like what can you do when you get there? Do you have to wear masks in a restaurant? You know, all of that stuff. And using advanced analytics, present that in an easy to use travel app that would make destination recommendations based on traveler preference. So we ended up calling the app Detour. We thought it was very appropriate considering the entire globe had detoured from a normal life. And, you know, so we had a lot of fun. It was a really fun event. And at the end of the hackathon, our team won the regional award for the Americas. So it was very exciting to be picked for that award out of a group of 80 teams. So we knew that we had hit on something that was pretty cool. So what we found during the hack, when we had this all-woman team presenting, was that there is a huge appetite to support and mentor women in travel. And we were reached out to by not only sponsors of the hackathon, but other teams that wanted to see us succeed. And so what we got out of that opportunity was not just bragging rights, which was very cool, by the way, and I think we probably still brag about it a little bit, but it opened up more mentoring opportunities for all of us in different ways, internally and externally. Network opportunities came out of this. We found it to be very empowering. It exposed us not just, you know, as ATPCO, but, you know, even on an individual level. And, you know, the energy and the motivation that came out of that is, it was crazy. So, and also by participating, it was a learning opportunity. So the team created this prototype using science-based technology. And for some of the women on the team, it was new to them, even though they're in the software engineering role. It was new technology that they learned very quickly and can use now to today and moving forward. The other part of this experience that I want to share is there may be a perception of how well a all-female team could work together. And, you know, I don't want to make it sound like we were all surprised and, oh, hey, you know, there wasn't like cat scratching and hair pulling happening. It was the exact opposite. And it was really cool. It was very organic. There was a mutual respect across all of the team members. You know, there's moms on it. It was over a weekend. We had stuff going on. My daughter had a softball tournament in another city. And, you know, I was talking to the team members standing behind third base, cheering on my daughter and giving advice on how to write something or do something. And it was fun and we all got it, right? We all couldn't meet at the same time, but we owned our role in the team. And at the end of the day, we knew that in order for the team to win, we had to win individually, and that required the support of each other. And I think that was like really, really cool. And now I have new buddies at ATPCO. I had to work with people I didn't work with before, and it was just an amazing experience. So, you know, the message there is do it, get out there and do it.
Thank you so much, and you always bring so much human laughter to the table in addition to all your experience. Also, I want to share with our audience that you established this great laughter and inspiration channel in our organization. So would you like to share a little bit more about that, and also share some quote or perhaps a word of inspiration with our audience today?
Yeah, thanks. This was the predetermined question that Uli told me she was going to ask me, so I have to be prepared with this one. But it did give me a chance to really sit down and think. So ATPCO uses Yammer to communicate within the organization, and folks have the opportunity to create their own Yammer channels for whatever reasons, you know, as long as it's, of course, work appropriate. I might walk the line on that one a little bit, but I try to mind my P's and Q's most of the time. But what it's meant to do is, for me, is I say these things when I put an inspirational quote out there that I find I'm really saying it to myself. But I want to share that, because if I hear something that's kind of a downer, or experience something and I see a motivational quote and it lifts me up, even just for a minute, I want to put it out there too. So that, you know, I never know what someone needs to see on that day, in that moment, that's going to help them just sort of push through, or, you know, strive for greater things, or do whatever. And then I try to sprinkle it with humor, because I think you should laugh all the time. And it cuts tension, and it makes you more personable, and it just makes the atmosphere more fun. So there were 3 quotes, Uli, actually, that I really thought I would want to share here today. And the first one is, everyone you will ever meet knows something that you don't. Everyone. And if you listen, you'll learn, and you'll pick things up in the most random places. You know, sometimes we learn intentionally, right? You take a class, or even, you know, with our mentoring programs, there's a goal and you learn something. But you'll learn something from everyone you meet, and whether it's related to work or personal life, or, you know, something that you can use when you're screaming the Jeopardy answer at the television every night. There's something. So that one really resonated with me, just to always listen and look at things as a learning opportunity. The other one that really resonates with me is, nothing changes if nothing changes. And so when you find yourself in a position of that you don't like something, whatever it is in your life, and if you get up and do the same thing every day, well, nothing's going to change if nothing changes. And that's in your hands. So that's one. And then the last one, which is also a favorite of mine, is, don't be afraid to suck at something new. Everybody starts in the same place when it's new. And you have to not be afraid to not be good at it when you first start out. And that's true in every aspect. And so I tell myself that all the time. Sometimes it takes me a little longer not to suck, but I'm always willing to go there and give it a try. So that one I really like too.
Great, thank you, Anne. Thank you so much for these quotes. And we are moving to Christine. So Christine, you've been such an instrumental leader in the Lead from the Front program. You help us to organize, and you led so many events that promoted not only a positive culture, but also inspired those career moves. And in a pre-pandemic world, we had quite a few events and opportunities, and also our ATPCO employer had a chance to go to many events. But then in a pandemic world, we had to pivot. And Christine, I think you have such a great story to share. So please share with us how we pivoted, and how Lead from the Front really branched out into different initiatives, and we continue to support that spirit and that communication.
Sure, thanks, Uli. I think part of the organic nature of Lead from the Front enabled it to be a start for more initiatives to be brought up through the company. As Uli had mentioned before, we had started Women in Technology Protege program, at least sending our women in tech colleagues through that, where mentors and proteges can dedicate their time to fostering career and professional development, to have somebody to lean into for those questions in terms of growth, and navigating the technology world from a female perspective. The proteges were professional women looking to advance their careers, and also seeing how to best navigate some of the challenges in doing so, and potentially changing career directions as well. For us, by sending through 30 women over 2 years through that program, it facilitated career moves internally and externally, and any type of career growth that we enable, we're looking to have more satisfied and fulfilled employees. So you're able to feed and develop internally so that your employees feel like they're working for a place that truly cares about them as people and wants to see them grow and wants to be able to provide a foundation and structure that will only help, not hinder, their growth and movement. So that was part of it, more on the women in technology side, and it didn't just stop there. With ATPCO Speaks, that was an employee-led group that we built focused on diversity, inclusion, equity, and justice initiatives. And it was a result of the death of George Floyd that some of us in the company felt we needed to do something more. We needed to bring what was happening externally and bring a voice internally. So what we did was we quickly formed a group. We prepared, some internal resources and recommendations of what we wanted to do and what our goals would be of this group, and brought it up through people services. We were able to build pages to provide places to volunteer, resources and readings to help educate our colleagues that kind of aligned with our overall mission. So I think with Lead from the Front, knowing that kind of evolved quickly, we use that as a template to take this a step further, inspire us to do so in other initiatives. And we were able to have a voice in the company and align our personal values along with corporate values. So we felt like we, worked at a place that cared about the same things that we did. And since then, it's evolved even further that our company is now focused on building ERGs, so employee resource groups. It's something that they're proactively reaching out and getting people thinking about what types of groups would you like to be part of internally, and what really matters to you. And these programs don't necessarily need to be started by a human resources team or be limited to kind of that area. It can be started by anyone. If you have an idea, or if you want to run with an initiative that speaks to more of the personal level, or something that really matters to you and you feel passionate about that you'd love to weave into the workplace, do it. Use the resources that exist, look at the company data, analyze kind of where you are and see what needs to change. So you can be that voice in the company. You don't have to wait for somebody to look to start these kind of initiatives when you might have, several allies within the company that are thinking the same way, but it just takes that one step for somebody to kind of kick it off and be curious and be driven and want to make a change. So I'd certainly encourage people to be that person.
Thank you, Christine. I also want to thank everyone who's dropping some comments for us and notes. We really, really appreciate. So please also feel free to send us any questions. We will try to address them as well. And also, Christine, for someone who perhaps has a great idea to start a new initiative at their organization, but maybe hesitant, or that fear of where do I start, what do I do, holds them back. So what advice would you give to them?
There's a couple ways to start. So you can reach out to senior leadership so that you can have some partnership to help kind of clear the path for you. And you can also just find colleagues and people that think and have the same passions as you do. So you can start to build that voice at an employee level, and then bring that up to your human resources team. Share your mission and goals. Anytime you can apply some data to that, that certainly helps. So look at the company makeup, point out where you think there are some gaps or where some things might need to be changed, or if there's an initiative that you found externally that you think could drive X new applicants, or is something that really attracts new people to a company, things like that, that you can just start kind of sharing and building off of. I would definitely start with that. And then advertise and recruit. So if you wanted to create an ERG, you want to kind of build the momentum and build the support. So once that's done, make sure that you open it up so that anybody that really does have that interest and that passion can join in those efforts, so that you can then make a bigger impact within your company. And then create goals and measure them. And in time, determine, are we meeting our goals, or do we need to, be a bit more aggressive with them? What are ways we can increase engagement? What are ways we can get, new people involved? And if you're looking to help support a shift in company makeup, or help support new ideas coming in, just ensure you can effectively measure the success and plan ahead, and work, in collaboration with several different facets across leadership, HR, and then colleagues that all have that same passion. And there's tons of different, areas that you could consider starting things, whether it's diversity, inclusion, equity, and justice, whether it's focused on people with disabilities, women, religion, or faith-based. There's plenty of opportunities that if you feel passionate about something and that you want to bring it into, your company and corporate makeup, definitely be the person to start it, because somebody's got to take that first step, and that's usually the hardest part to do. So definitely build a base, build that support, and get moving on it.
Thank you, Christine. And now, Seth, so you are next. As I mentioned, you have such a unique way of mentor others and really elevate them, create room for others through your coaching techniques. And you've been an instrumental leader in a program, and you are our advocate. So could you please share that experience of being a mentor in a Women in Leadership program, and also how is it for perhaps encourage other men to support very similar initiatives in their organizations?
Yeah, thank you, Uli. Yeah, it's been a fun journey, not one that I necessarily expected to be on or even sought to be on. As with so many things in life, I got involved in Lead from the Front primarily because some friends at the company asked me to. Beth, who was on the previous panel, and Christine and a few others basically said, like, hey, you should come join our meeting. And when your friends ask you to do things, you're more likely to say yes than if it just kind of comes from a corporate inbox. So that's kind of the first strategy. You don't have to think of this stuff as like an officer-led or a corporate initiative. It's just, if you're a man at a company, you probably work with some women who you know and really like. And if they ask you to join, then you're likelier to join. One thing that I have constantly reconciled, and this will kind of be a theme in the next few minutes, is like, I've heard and read about so often, like, the burden that is placed on women of, oh, okay, so like you need the women to tell you that you need to come on and support the women. So that's always something I'm trying to think about, because no, it shouldn't need to work that way. But it can be scary to start something like this as a man, or even when some of my closest friends at the company were asking me to participate and saying that I would be valued. I kind of came in not knowing what my role should be, not knowing whether I would be welcomed more broadly by the fantastic group of women that had assembled, or whether it was just like the couple of people that, knew me well and kind of knew what I brought to the table and what I'd be able to do. And I didn't know that I'd really be able to kind of help our broader body of women at ATPCO. I knew that in individual conversations and looking at people's careers, that was something I was very comfortable with doing, and had helped women in a one-on-one basis advance in their career, but I never really looked at it as a broader initiative. But what I learned as we were going through the program was that I was not being brought on to solve gender equity. This was not my problem to solve. And it was not something that I needed to do on a group level, the reason why I had been asked to participate and, you know, where my perspective was helpful was in doing so on an individual basis. And one thing that I'm so grateful to my female colleagues for was that they, you all created a space for me where I could make a difference in my own way, and where it wasn't like, we need you or expect you to do these particular things, but really it was just an opening of the door. It wasn't guiding me through once the door was open, but just really to show me that my perspective was welcome, and that I didn't need to be scared of saying the wrong thing. And I still am. You know, pretty much every conversation I have about women's issues and equality issues, I mean, humanity issues, you know, more broadly, but anything that doesn't really touch me directly as a white man, you kind of have moments where you're like, wait a minute, like, was that the wrong thing to say? Is this going to be something that's going to get me into trouble? Am I going to feel like a jerk for saying this afterwards? And, you know, sometimes you probably will, but, you know, one thing that I have felt very fortunate about is that I think the women that I've worked with in this program have really kind of given me the space to mess up. So like looking at some of the chats and what Anne mentioned as the quote earlier about like not being afraid to suck at something, like this is like probably the best example of it. Like I probably, you know, and even Uli and Anne and Christine, even when prepping for this panel, I'm sure I said one or two things where you kind of looked at me and were like, huh, really? Like, I don't know about that. And then, you know, that's fine, because I needed to look at you and kind of say like, oh, wait a minute, like, why did what I just say create that reaction? And then know that I say, hey, it's not your job to educate me on that, on why I just made you feel that way. But if you're willing to invest in me to help me understand that, then, you know, one of my goals in participating in this program is to be able to be in the far too many rooms where women are still underrepresented at our company, and to be able to say like, hey, room of 8 gentlemen who are all roughly the same age and where there are no women at the table, maybe we should think about this, because women are not here to represent themselves. So being willing to invest in your male colleagues that you think will be able to support you when not in the room, I think that can really kind of pay off, because it can also really play into how individual relationships can form, and how in mentoring relationships women can grow. So I had through the program a few female mentees, and hearing some of their stories and just hearing the way that some of my female colleagues looked at the world that might have been a little different than me, it really kind of shaped the way that I have led other initiatives. So there was one case where one of my mentees was telling me about a program that she was a part of, where she was basically kind of somebody who was aggregating the information that was coming at her from a room full of senior leaders that were primarily men. And she was somewhat viewing that as not really a burden, but was just kind of viewing it as like something on her calendar, but wasn't really seeing that as wait a minute, like you are exposed to these insights from 10 different departments at the company, all cross-functional, all things that have nothing to do with your role right now. You just were kind of selected because you were working on a specific part of it and they needed some help with like this specific thing. But what you were just presented with was a room full of opportunity where you can now follow up with any of those people that were in that room and can say, hey, like this wasn't really a part of my job, but I was really interested in what you said. And probably nobody's going to offer that to you, but if you follow up on that in your own way, then you can go for it. And the degree to which I saw that that was kind of a light bulb moment, I was like, wow, this is happening all the time at ATPCO, but then also at other organizations. So trying to really think about that and finding the balance between making sure that your colleagues, you know, as females know that it's not their job to educate you, but that you would highly appreciate, you know, their guidance on things that women have to think about every single hour of every single day, and that men only are really forced to think about when it is put in their face, and being able to take advantage of that and to create opportunities for others. Say, hey, there are 7 men and 1 woman on this call. I understand that some of this is because you know, we wanted only the senior team, at this call, but guess what? The senior team is primarily still men. So if you continue to say we only want senior people on this call, then guess what you're going to do? Then 20 years from now, we're going to see another senior team of all men. So maybe it doesn't really harm the discussion if we invite one or two, rising star female mid-level leaders who will be senior leaders in a few years, and let them be a part of the discussion, even if they aren't going to be the most active contributor out of 10 people. They'll be the least active contributor. They're primarily going to listen, maybe not even really say much, but giving exposure to that environment can, kind of help things bloom beyond what you could have expected. So I think just thinking of the world in that way, and especially removing from our vernacular, and I think probably the men who are part of this forum are probably not the ones who this needs to be told to, but like the one phrase that has grown to irk me more than any others is "as a husband" or "as a father of daughters." That just really kind of gets me these days, because I'm like, you don't have to be a father of daughters in order to create a better work environment and more opportunities for over 50% of the world's population. It's something that you should be able to do on your own, because it's better for everybody. Every call, every organization, everything I'm a part of that has better female representation, it's not only more productive, but it's also more fun and more interesting, just because different perspectives at the table. And as Anne talked about earlier, so many new perspectives, so many new ways to laugh and have fun, not just the work side. So that was my somewhat rambling view on the world, but I'm very grateful for the opportunity to join you all here, and for feeling welcomed. And hopefully I and the other male leaders that are on this call can kind of continue to create opportunities for women as best we can, even if we mess up once or twice along the way. We hope that we'll be able to do more good than harm.
Thank you, Seth. So I see we have questions, and again, I will encourage audience to please continue sending your thoughts and questions for us. And I just wanted to add to that point on that we are not afraid to make mistakes, and that's certainly been a culture that we're trying to promote through this program. It's really a learning experience for all of us. It takes a lot of passion and commitment. So by having fun and by laughing at those mistakes, but learning from them, that certainly helps us to generate even more interest. And the interest across the organization has been really overwhelming. So each time we have a new opportunity, we have a lot of interest from our colleagues to join, to contribute, to lead. And that's been a wonderful experience so far. So we will start with addressing some questions, and Seth, we will start with you. So Alessandra dropped the questions. What tips would you give to companies who are seeking to increase their female diverse talent? So how would you encourage to attract more diverse talent and more female talent?
Yeah, it's a great question. It's something I struggle with this a lot, because one of my roles at ATPCO, so I'm the head of content strategy, and prior to that, I led our retailing program, and a big part of my job was to build a network throughout the industry. And so, of course, a lot of hires that end up happening when you're building a talent pipeline come through your network and come through the people that you're meeting at different events like this one. But sometimes, what I noticed is that as I was bringing people in for opportunities, it ended up being a lot of people who kind of thought like me or looked like me. And so I think identifying who are the people, like you can probably look at your organization and who are the folks that are referring the most people, besides just looking at job postings, where I know there's a lot of great literature that I'm sure has been discussed in other aspects of this forum, in terms of making sure that you're not using terminology or unnecessary statistics in terms of like experience required that discourage folks from approving. It's like, if I see that I meet one bullet on a job posting, I'm probably likely to apply for it, even if I don't meet the other 9. Whereas I know that for women and people of color, you have to not just have 9 out of 10, it has to be 10 out of 10. So making sure that you're removing some of those barriers so that the conversation can happen in the first place, but also looking at who are there 5 or 10 individuals at the company that tend to refer more people, and who tend to bring people into senior roles based on their network. I'm a big fan of kind of the 80-20 rule in general, where if your goal is to create a more diverse workforce, you don't necessarily need every person at the company to understand how critical that is in order to make the practicalities of that happen. It's great for people to be aware, of course, of the importance of a diverse workforce for 1,000 other reasons that we won't get into today. But if you're saying, hey, I want to hire new people and bring in new people to my organization who are able to help shape our diversity and our inclusion, make sure you're tackling like who are the 5 or 10 most influential people that are bringing people on or that are referring people, even if they don't end up being successful, and make sure that that's a part of their mindset, because you'll probably get disproportionate impact by making sure that your handful of like really vocal external advocates are positioned in the right way, as opposed to trying to boil the ocean.
Thank you, Seth. And Christine, would you like to add anything on this topic, on recruiting talent?
Just a couple of things that came to mind. I think to answer that specifically, I think the company should make the job more attractive to women and be more inclusive, to make people want to come here. I think the fact that ATPCO has Lead from the Front program, and we have an organizational development and learning team that's specifically pushing out coaching opportunities within the company, and we have the Unleash Your Potential leadership learning opportunities that's company-wide. Those things should be forefront in our message when we're looking to recruit. I think attending these types of forums opens up sort of that pool and makes our presence known, and also that we're looking, that we're looking to diversify the talent pool at ATPCO, and just look for those different ways to attract, the different population segments for the job opportunities that we have.
Thank you. And Christine, any insights from you on this?
Sure. Just to add to what Anne was saying, especially with, how we kind of advertise and share the company and why somebody should be attracted to ATPCO. I think benefits is a big part of it. And so benefits that help, women, like maternity leave, things like that are really important. Make sure those are part of the core focused benefits that you have as a company. Things that make it easier to work there for diverse populations as a foundation, so that when people look at it, they know, okay, that's a place that likely will support me. And it sounds like a place that really cares about me as a person, has the benefits there embedded, and that sounds like a great place to join. So it's seeing what the company looks like from the lens of what they're offering, and trying to attract people and knowing that it's a good fit. So I think highlighting those type of benefits that can also, attract the people that you're looking at in those diverse populations, and making sure that spotlight can pull people in.
Thank you so much. And just to close on the topic, I also wanted to add a few points, and also to that question, what do we do different now to recruit female talent? So earlier on through Lead from the Front program, and by working with our human resources divisions, they partnered with Women in Technology organization. So we are members of that organization, and through that membership, our recruitment team had a chance to visit many hiring job offers fairs, and where we had a representation and at different tech companies. Also through Women in Technology organization, we connected with Girls Who Code through this Women in Technology Protege program to potentially recruit in the future female interns or all who have that skills. So we have another question here for all panelists. I can't help but think about how factors like race and sexual orientation further complicate the issue of female representation. How can we make sure that intersectionality is part of the conversation? So who would like to take that question first?
I can take it, at least provide my thoughts on it. I think the important things to consider is, trying to work to eliminate bias and educate everybody, in the company and ensure that that's kind of understood of what those factors look like and how it makes things more difficult for those employees and to be more supportive as a company. Because if you're also looking at numbers and you're seeing things like, okay, our representation of females start to decrease as you go up the leadership chain. What does that look like then for those that might be a female who also is, identifies as LGBTQ? Be aware of those kind of things and look at that information that you have and see what you're doing then as a company to support those populations and ensure that, you're not only educating the company as a whole, but that you're also reaching out and ensuring that you are supporting and also providing the right path for growth within a corporate environment and space, and enabling those individuals to feel like they are heard at all levels. So I would look to the data, look to the numbers to see kind of where you see, gaps that you might have, and ensure that you are doing all that you can to support those populations.
I think one thing I'll add is, I've become more educated on a lot in the last few years, but one thing that I've noticed is, as you become educated on one new topic or thing that doesn't affect you personally, you become much more aware on the rest. So now at this point, I've been involved in Lead from the Front for a few years now. So I feel I can speak, certainly not as an expert, but with a little bit more credibility on the challenges that women have dealt with. And that has given me like such a better starting point for understanding the challenges that people run into in the workplace when it comes to sexual orientation and race. And it basically now allows me to start from a higher point of being able to consider intersectionality. That was probably like a term that would have broken my brain a few years ago, but now that I kind of feel like I understand part of intersectionality, it makes it a lot easier to get the rest. So I think like building off, if you have one program that's particularly successful at your company, maybe thinking about how you can build that into other programs and making that broader, as opposed to having separate programs, which then somewhat encourages people to think of them separately when that's actually quite the opposite of what we want to do.
Great, thank you. And since our time here is quickly approaching to the end, so I just wanted another round of closing thoughts. Any advice for our audience on how to start or where to start a new program? Any learnings and advice you would like to share for those who consider to promote women in leadership initiatives at their organization, to make their organization more diverse and inclusive workplace? So any thoughts on that, please? And
sure, I can ask a quick understand what the company looks like today, set some goals on where you think the growth opportunities are. Find some people in the company that are as driven and passionate as you are, and bring that up to senior leadership. And be vocal, don't be shy, and make sure that your voice is heard and that you advocate for the change that's for the betterment of your company.
I agree with what Christine just said, and then my advice would be put yourself out there and participate. So if you don't have similar type programs at your organization, to Christine's point, start something. But if you do, join, participate in somehow, whether you're a mentor or a mentee, if you can just sit in on the meetings, but actively participate. And I think you'll be very surprised at how much you can learn and contribute, even if you think it's not something that impacts you directly. To Seth's point, right? He's like our favorite dude, and he comes to the lead from the front meetings, and we all love listening to him, and we all wait for the Seth jokes to come out. But he genuinely cares, and he takes it seriously, and he carries that message forward to other parts of the company that may not feel like they could or should join, but see that they can. So really just participate, put yourself out there.
Thank you, Anne. I feel like I let everybody down now by not including enough jokes, although I will mention that the plants that are over my shoulder were dead in a previous panel that I've been on. So I've mostly been admiring how much I've grown my own background. Probably a good metaphor for a lot of things.
Awesome.
But yeah, my just closing theme, like a personal touch can make all the difference. I probably could have received 20 lead from the front emails, and probably would have eventually said, you know what, like this is something I should get my act together to participate. But like one message from a friend saying, hey, will you please join me for that, is a 10-second conversation that can engage somebody so much more than anything that feels like it's coming from HR or from corporate. So use your personal relationships to your advantage. They can make a huge difference, and don't really require a major time investment to do it. It could just be a 2-second message, and if somebody cares about you, they'll jump on what you're saying.
Thank you. And I just want to mention we do have time for a couple more questions, so please send your sorts of questions. And from my side, I will add to that topic. If you have an idea to start something new, just take action step at a time. It is certainly not that easy to start something new, but it starts with believing in yourself. So first believe that you can do it. And then I certainly agree with Christine's point. Find those people, find your advocates, find people like-minded, passionate and driven. And then it takes a lot of commitment. But with commitment and hard work, it's certainly a very rewarding experience. And at our organization, we have great stories to tell where this program really impacted people's career advancement in a very positive way. We had the stories where through mentee and mentor met through this mentoring program, which led and inspired a mentee to pursue her next opportunities within the organization. So she received a lot of support and guidance through the program and by connecting with other people, and now she's very happy at her new role, and always keep reminding us to keep doing what we are doing because it's working, and that's her words. She was like, keep doing, it's working. So, and with that, if we don't have any more questions or thoughts, we want to thank you very much for being with us today, and really thank you, Alessandra, and all who organized this event. What a great forum, and what a great way to bring people together and to discuss these very, very important topics. So we wish you all the best and great success in your own beginnings, in your own efforts, and stay in touch. We would love to exchange any ideas, any thoughts, support in any way we can, and also check out our website, atpco.net. Okay, any? And Seth, would you like to add anything?
Nope, thanks, it was fun.
Great, thank you. We all had a wonderful time. And with that, I want to turn it over to Claire for closing remarks. So again, thank you all.
Hi, Claire. We actually can't hear you at the moment. Perfect.
Can you hear me now?
We can hear you now.
Oh gosh, don't you just love technology? I've done this so many times in the last 12 or 14 months. You'd think I'd have learned by now. But I just want to say thank you so much to Ulyana and Seth and Christine for yet another amazing panel and for sharing all of their experiences with such passion. I can't believe that we're over halfway through what's been such an inspiring and thought-provoking event, and today was no exception at all. I hope you all managed to catch up with old friends and colleagues and make some new ones. I have to say, I am really enjoying this virtual platform despite not being able to work the mute button properly. And I've been having lots of interesting chats with some amazing women and men during the networking sessions. So please remember, you can stay online after I finish talking and continue to network until 5 p.m. UK time. As an HR professional and founder of the ITT Future You initiative, which is where we bring industry to education to showcase all of the careers available through shared experience and to help inspire the next generation, I can honestly say that emerging talent is a passion and a real focus for me. And it was so refreshing to listen to Sarah and Carol talk about their experiences as young women making their mark in the travel and technology space at the start of today's sessions. There is no doubt that the travel tech space offers great opportunity, particularly as we heard from Ed and his panel, that AI is looking to replace many roles traditionally held by women. So it is clear that more needs to be done to educate and inform people and make sure that we don't let a lack of encouragement stifle our dreams, as we heard from Sarah and her teacher. Storytelling has definitely resonated throughout this whole event, and as has the need to learn and share our stories with each other. Women in Travel is a fantastic community where we can actively do this, and I really want to thank all of our speakers so far who have been so honest in sharing their stories and experiences. The need to build your support network, find your people, and also not being afraid to ask for help has also been a theme. And I know that's something that the team at Women in Travel and all of us here today can help each other with. So in our first panel, Carol made the point that we mustn't see women as competition. And actually, it reminded me of a post I saw just a few days ago from the female lead on LinkedIn, which said, "She isn't your competition. She is proof that it can be done, so learn from her," which I absolutely loved, and I think is probably similar to the point that Carol was making. Role models are absolutely crucial, and we've all had positive and sadly probably some negative role models in our lives, both male and female, who have helped us learn and challenge each other and our own preconceptions. And I would say that something I often say is that we must all be the role models that we want to see. Without doubt, part of this is taking part in mentoring, which I know we've been covering on Friday. And I wouldn't underestimate, because I know from a personal experience how much the older generation, which definitely includes myself, can learn from Gen Y and Z and all the other future generations to come. So I was really pleased to hear Sarah talk about how important it was to take responsibility when job hunting and inform yourself about what roles really need, which will help remove bias and preconception. And I also love the point she made about turning the challenges associated with being the only woman on a team into a positive, as this can actually make you more memorable and visible, and I really like that. And both of them clearly demonstrated that the preconception that we have around a tech stereotype should never stop you from a successful career in tech and from pursuing a career in tech. So we know just from those two young ladies that fantastic future talent is out there, but we have to nurture and encourage it. Companies have to do more to unlock their talent. And I completely agreed with Joseph's point that he made in that businesses should focus when they're recruiting on what a candidate can achieve and not actually what they've done. And I really think this will help mitigate what has been recognised, as we said earlier today, that it's a female trait that often we only apply for jobs where we can demonstrate all of the skills required in the job spec. And I think that turning that on its head will definitely help unlock more diverse talent. Ed shared a lot of really good data with us, and it showed that it's already there and proving that gender diversity is associated with increased profits. So actually, it makes sense for businesses to encourage recruiting a more diverse workforce. And they need to change their narrative through thinking about how these roles are promoted and therefore how they are seen as employers, which, if not done right and in the right way, can create even more barriers to entry. And that's another real passion of mine, is helping employers and their brands really promote themselves and market themselves effectively to their future workforce. Another thing all of our panels have talked about today is the need for these companies to invest in improving their image, particularly around diversity, equity, inclusivity. And it was really, really encouraging in that last session to hear about the amazing work that ATPCO are doing to encourage diversity. I personally picked up some really good ideas from all of the great things that they're doing, including their initiative, Lead from the Front, and having male allies such as Seth, who act as advocates for women in the workplace. And Seth, you spoke with such passion, so thank you for that. More male allyship is definitely needed, and I applaud the men who are joining us this week, as well as some businesses like ATPCO, who are providing us with some really good best practice that we can all learn from. And finally, we talked about the fact that we should always wait to be recognised for our achievements, and that we should not shy away from shouting out about it. Hashtag I Am Remarkable was one of the initiatives that was mentioned earlier in the chat, and I know we're going to hear more about that tomorrow. But I wanted to say, based on what we've heard this week so far, I personally think we can safely say hashtag we are all remarkable. So anyway, have a great afternoon, evening, everybody, and I look forward to seeing you all again tomorrow, and please do reach out to me if you want to have a chat. Goodbye for now.